We are honored to welcome one of the best-selling writers of our time, the author of legal thrillers, nonfiction, a novel about Christmas, a novel about football players with a hunger for more than the game, even books for young adults. Welcome, John Grisham. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
You have a legal thriller that's coming out this fall called The Confession, and I wondered what you could give away about that at this point.
Well, it's revisiting some old issues, some old places I've been. It's a story of a wrongful conviction with a countdown toward an execution. My readers have been there before with the chamber. I'm fascinated by executions and all of the legal maneuvering that happens in the last 48 hours. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always fascinating. I'm intrigued by death row and the way we kill people and how each state does it differently. So the book is a really good picture of that. Since I published The Innocent Man 4 years ago, I've really been active in innocence work around the country. I've met I've met dozens of exonerees, probably close to 100, all over the country. And I talk to these men, some who've spent 25 years for somebody else's crime, some who were almost executed, And so it's a lot of good, rich material that I kind of keep stored up, and now it's coming together in The Confession.
Yeah, so you do kind of use some of those real-life stories that you come across, they inspire you, give you ideas for the novels?
Yeah, sure. Everything, almost everything gives me ideas, but the innocence work is really, it's under my skin. And usually when I finish a book, I'm done with it. I don't want to go back and revisit that issue or that place or that character. I'm thinking about the next book. But The Innocent Man and the innocence work is really has my attention right now. And so I'm writing about it, and I will continue to write about it, maybe not as in a book form, although this novel is very much about a wrongful conviction. But I'm also active outside of the writing, in my private life, working with innocence groups all over the country.
Mm-hmm. And I would say I actually saw a couple of pages, but I haven't read very much of it. But I would assume there might be a sort of unsavory lawyer character in the book. Certainly have been featured in the past. As a lawyer, I mean, do you ever feel bad about some of the characters that
I get roughed up pretty bad by other lawyers, other lawyers who may be reviewing the books for publications, and yes, some of it's fair. Lawyers don't always look, that good in my books. However, there are a lot of characters over the years who've been very good lawyers, very good people, tried to do what was right. I kind of laugh when I tell people, most lawyers are honest, hard-working people who don't make a lot of money. Nobody wants to read about that. You want to read about the guy who, stole the money, faked his death, and screwed his clients out of their money and took off to Brazil. That's a much better story, So you have to write about what people want to read about.
It's funny because it seems like every profession, there's people who are good and people who are bad in just about any walk of life that you can imagine. Wow, what is it about lawyers that they get such a bad rap? It's like the negative ones just really sour the entire barrel.
Yeah, and a lot of it it's all self-inflicted damage. I mean, when you see this unsavory advertising, lawyers begging for injured clients, begging for business with these ridiculous ads on television and billboards and buses and yellow pages, that's really out of control, and it paints us, it makes the profession look bad. It's also just in our DNA. We love stories about the law and lawyers, and look at the most popular shows on television. Look at the movies, we have this insatiable appetite for stories about lawyers, the law, courtroom dramas. We just love that because as Americans we have so many rights. We were so proud of our rights, and when somebody tampers or messes with us, we're quick to sue or we're quick to hire a lawyer, and that's just, again, that's part of our DNA. It's not going to change.
Do you ever miss doing legal work?
Not one moment.
Kind of expected that.
I didn't really. I was a lawyer for 10 years. In a small town in Mississippi, and it was not that satisfying. There was a lot of competition. Never really made any money. Never was able to relax, and you know, I didn't like it. In all fairness, about halfway through that brief 10-year career, I got the bug to write. I started writing A Time to Kill. And once I realized I was going to finish writing that book one day, I began dreaming of this, you know, fantasy of writing for a living, getting out of the law office, and just being able to write. And so once I started dreaming that dream, nothing else was going to be satisfying. So I really soured on the law.
So it doesn't sound like you're going to branch back out into that kind of work anytime soon. And I would imagine that the legal thriller is where you're most comfortable writing. We did have somebody on our Facebook page actually wanted to know which was the toughest of the different kinds of books that you've tried. Which was the toughest to
Well, by
to take
far,
on?
the toughest book to write was The Innocent Man, because it's a true story. So the research was a lot more than I bargained for. It was a lot more exhaustive and intensive. And it's an angry book. It has an angry voice to it. And I knew, because I was angry when I wrote it, angered by these 2 wrongful convictions that could easily have been prevented. And almost all wrongful convictions can be prevented. A lot of the people who are responsible for the wrongful convictions in The Innocent Man are still alive. And I knew that I was going to tell the story truthfully. They would not be portrayed well. And so I expected litigation. And it happened. It's over with now, but I was very, very careful because of that, and I researched it thoroughly. So it took 18 months to write the book. Normally it takes me 6 months to write a novel. So, and for that reason, I'm not sure I'll go back and try nonfiction again. Even though I love the book, I love the story, I can write 3 novels in 18 months.
Yeah. So it's tough to tone down your own emotions while you're writing that book because it's nonfiction and it's a little bit different. You want people to see this case and take it on its merits.
I'm not a journalist. I mean, I did not know how to be a detached observer of this story. I just couldn't do that. I was, you know, I wanted to tell it my way and bring all of this indignation I had to the story. And I'm not a journalist. I wasn't trained that way. I didn't know if you had a source, you know, telling you a great story that you really wanted to use in the book, but you weren't sure about your source. You know, what do you do? Do you verify it again? You know, questions like that plagued me throughout the writing. And again, I knew it would be scrutinized by a lot of folks.
Yeah. And I mentioned that was something that we had a question that came from our Facebook page, and I know that you have a Facebook page and Twitter, and I was just wondering, you know, book selling obviously changed a lot since, say, when The Firm came out. Are you involved a lot with the Facebook and social media and things like that?
Let me come clean up front. When Doubleday published The Associate in January of last year, 2009, somebody came up with the idea of a Facebook page, and I said, okay, fine. I've never looked at it, okay? I mean, I don't Facebook. A few months ago, my sister sent me a note and said, you better check your Facebook page. There's some stuff on there you may not like. And I did, and there was some stuff I didn't like. And I called my publisher and I said, please take this thing down immediately. I'm not going to Facebook, that's not what I want to spend my time. I don't get Twitter. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I just don't want to spend a lot of time doing that guy. I don't want to be accessible.
You can spend a lot of time doing that thing, let me tell you.
Listen, I spend a lot of time with Google. You know, when I research now, I'll make a list of questions, just, you know, facts, towns, streets, places, statistics, whatever, that I've got to know the answer to. Even though it's fiction, you got to be accurate. And I'll Google 15 times a day. And it takes a matter of seconds, and you find out I mean, it's incredible. Used to, I'd have to hire a research assistant and give them a list of stuff to go look up, you know, and now I do it as I write.
And then also new, or, you know, coming out right now is just the immediacy of ebooks and just being able to download that book as soon as you want it, you know, the day it comes out, and you have it go right to an e-reader. Do you have any thoughts about ebooks and how they're, you know, how you think they might change publishing, or?
If I travel a lot, I would probably use it a lot. One of the ebooks, I don't know which one. I've seen a couple of them. But I still like the book because I like to collect them. I like to put them on the shelf. I like the way they look and feel and all that. So I'm a real low-tech guy. I mean, I'm a caveman. The big question in publishing right now is, in 5 years, how many people are going to be reading on these devices? Some research suggests that the younger generation is going to be reading even more, and Amazon certainly believes that. Some research says, they're going to be reading even less. So I don't know. The market's going to grow enormously, and has huge an impact on bookstores and publishers and writers, and it's so new. It's changing so fast. It's so fluid. I don't know if anybody knows where it's going.
Well, I think it's safe to say from what we've seen that as long as people are reading, they're going to be reading your books. And we look forward to the Confession coming out this October. And really, thank you a lot for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.